Hello, good morning. My thought for today is about Filipina. Filipina, he says, yes, you're Filipina, or maybe your future Filipina, or maybe even your past Filipina. Guys, one thing that we spend a lot of time talking about, when I say we, I'm talking about other channels, other YouTube sites. We often say, well, we, the foreigner, get blamed for everything. And I think that maybe we need to step back a little bit from that because we're all looking for that the perfect Filipina, the perfect person whom we can share our lives with. Sometimes we just simply misunderstand them. Sometimes we don't recognize what they're looking for, and we confuse what we're looking for with what they don't understand. Do you understand what I mean? Well, it is sort of kind of confusing anyway, but have you noticed sometimes when you're trying to get your point across to your Filipino, it just doesn't find fertile ground. And you have to ask yourself, what am I saying wrong? Why am I having difficulty getting my point across? And I think that maybe some of us forget that when we first met our Western wives, we used what facilities or what capabilities we had to determine whether that was going to be the one. Did we really all think that because she had a degree in whatever, that she had a good job, that somehow that was the recipe for a good relationship? I think many of us have started our married lives off with maybe a woman that has got a job. I can recall one of my wives, he said, she was a librarian. Now, my concept of a librarian is somebody a little bit square, a little bit boring, and in many ways, a little bit innocent. Maybe well read, but innocent nevertheless. And I find that when you meet Filipinos, they're a little bit like librarians. They come across as sometimes quite bright, sometimes a little bit naive, but nevertheless they're no different really than the woman in the West. They really aren't. After all, they've got 2 legs and 2 arms, hopefully. But what they want in life, I'm sure, is the same aspiration as that of any woman in the world, and that is that their husband, their future, maybe the father of their children, is somebody that they can rely on, somebody that they feel is watching their back. And likewise, we look for her to be doing the same for us, somebody who watches our back. Maybe doesn't quite understand how we tick, but nevertheless still watches our back, like I'm watching this bloody fly that keeps flying around. PLDT came in a process of let half a dozen flies into the house, which is quite unusual for this place, that is. But if we're quick enough, we might just get the little bastard, but never mind, we'll move on. But I think we're very quick to say, well, she's too young, she's not as bright, she's not as intelligent. You know, some of you guys say, well, I'm looking for somebody I can have an intellectual conversation with. Okay, right. There you are. Don't pick a Filipina. Don't pick a Chinese lady. don't pick a Thai lady. And I say that in a general sense. Because what do you mean by an intellectual conversation? I mean, you want to talk about the CCs in a motorbike, why it's needed to get you to go from point A to point B, or maybe you want to discuss the politics of the world and maybe have an inkling as to how she feels about it. Again, don't look for a Filipino. You're lucky if she knows much more than what's going on outside her own front door. Maybe she knows what her father and her uncles and their aunties get up to, how they're having difficulty at work, or maybe having difficulty finding work. Those are the areas that they will tend to focus on. Just because she went to college doesn't mean that she's an educated lady. She's gone to high school. Because, in a way, a college here is high school. I know they have a thing called senior high, which is one after high school. But college is where you send people and you spend lots of money and they come out with a piece of paper. They go through the ropes of being educated at a higher level. I liken that to maybe A levels. They've studied A levels like in the UK. Whereas maybe senior high is GCE, O levels. If you know what I mean, you'll understand. But what I'm saying really is, in effect, is what do you want in your woman? What really do you want? Do you want someone who is a bag of potatoes? Do you want somebody who is a wiggling snake ready to bite you on the ear when it excites you most? Do you want somebody who learns with you about giving you one of those special jobs? Do you want somebody who learns from everything that you've taught them? I think you want all of those. I might be wrong, but you also know that that doesn't go on forever, least of all when you start at 65 plus. So there has to be more to a woman than just good in bed. Again, good in bed? You want to find a Filipino that's good in bed? Maybe she's a working girl. She's had the experience of knowing how to satisfy her clients. Maybe she's just simply a little bag of joy for every man. Whatever she is, every one of them is different. But each and every one of them, who you choose to be your partner for life, or you hopefully do, there's more than what's in the sack that you're really considering. You know, I often remind myself of when we were at school, and those that don't want to hear a vulgar story, tune off at this point. But I remember my sister, a lovely lady, good girl, sometimes. She was quite attractive, even for a brother to say that. But she had a lot of very attractive young girls following around with her. But she also had one special one. We'll call her Judy. Big girl, built like a brick shit house. Yes, everybody thought she was a big girl. And all the kinds of men talk that they talk about, or boy talk about, this and that. They never seemed to get what they really wanted with the pretty ones. But the ugly one, the big one, maybe the fat one, she didn't have any problem. She was always happy. She was always happy to have all the scraps. And the point is that often you find a man, a weedy little man, often with a big woman. What is the attraction? Maybe he sees the fun and enjoyment in a soft pillow. Maybe he doesn't want to be bothered chasing an illusion of a beautiful woman being the perfect girl in bed. Whatever he does, of course, is up to him. But the reality is that that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for somebody who we can live with. Someone on a day-to-day basis knows how to cook, is handy. Knows how to keep a house clean and tidy, that's also handy. Also enjoys doing the things that you enjoy doing. Maybe hopping in the plane, maybe just jumping in a car or a jeepney and saying, let's go into town. Why? Just let's go into town. Let's go and have some fun. Maybe she's like that. Maybe she's one that is worried that you spent more than 2,000 on what was a spare of the moment purchase. Maybe she's one that turns everything down because she feels you're spending too much money. Good one to find. Not to the point where you don't buy anything, but somebody who's cautious about spending money is a good sign. All of these things are green flags, so to speak. They're ones where you will start to realize that you have something in common. After all, you're on that slippery slide down life journey, and you don't want to waste every moment, any moment. You don't want to waste money if it's not necessary. You don't want to build a massive house when she's happy with a 4-roomed house. You don't want to have a massive farm for which to find a way of keeping it under control. But what you do need is a good wife, and it'll take time to find her. Bye now.